Hey everyone! So we are doing a Meet the Rescues series of videos where we're going to introduce you to each of the rescues and tell you about their story, how they came about to find us, and their backgrounds and so forth, and a little bit of their history. So today's video is about Sebastian, one of our rescue cats. So, Sebastian was adopted in May 16th of 2010. He was 8 weeks old when we got him. It's hard to see how big he is now. Excuse me, come here. But that's Sebastian. When we first got him, he was actually so small he could fit right in the palm of your hand. So when Sebastian was younger, and actually he still does, as you saw, liked to be wrapped in a blanket and held like a baby. And he got so used to that now you can actually take him and cradle him in your arms. He may not do it now, but you can actually cradle him in your arms and he'll lay like a baby. Yep, there he goes. He likes laying like this. He doesn't mind being upside down. So, Sebastian also has two different color eyes. He has one blue eye, and when he was little, his other eye was green. And as he got older, it's turned more yellow now. So he has one blue eye, one yellow eye. Sebastian has a couple of things that we want to talk about that he has developed over the years. In May of 2014, he ended up having a urinary tract blockage. Now, we'll explain how we discovered this. He really didn't have any symptoms until one day. He was going around the house and he was going through the motions like he was going to urinate, like he was using the litter box. He was in the litter box, but he was going through the motions like he was going, but nothing was coming out. And we kept an eye on him for a little bit, and later on that day, he started showing other signs. Sebastian doesn't meow often. He'll meow like if we're out on the patio and he wants to come outside. He'll be at the back door meowing, but he doesn't typically meow that often. So later on that day, he started meowing, but it sounded like a painful meow. So that definitely raised a red flag for us. So we called the vet, and the vet had us bring him in right away that day. They ran a couple of tests, and they found that he had a blockage, urinary tract blockage, which is caused by a buildup of crystals. So they had to do an emergency procedure to try to unblock his urinary tract. What they did in his case is they had to put him under, and they had to insert a catheter into his urethra to try to unblock the urinary tract. The vet had told us that if that didn't work, they would actually have to widen the opening to unblock, remove the crystals. So luckily, by putting the catheter in, because by putting a catheter in, they try to either push the blockage back in so they can dissolve it, or sometimes it just loosens it up and it'll come out. So by putting the catheter in, it did release the blockage. But he ended up, because he had the blockage, what happens is the bladder, when the bladder gets full because of the blockage, it stops producing urine and can cause problems with their kidneys. So because he had the blockage and he wasn't urinating, he ended up going into kidney failure. So once they removed the blockage, they started treating him for the kidney failure. Luckily, we caught it early enough. They did the procedure right away. So his kidneys ended up bouncing back and recovering and started functioning again. Now, he actually spent 4 days in the hospital while this was going on, because he had to have the catheter in for a few days. They had him on an IV, giving him fluids and checking his levels, doing blood work. They had to keep checking his levels to make sure his kidneys were functioning, that he didn't have toxic levels of any toxins in his system. So he made it through that. So after that, they all go for 6-month checkups. So 6 months, about 6 months later, Sebastian went in for his checkup, and he ended up being diagnosed with a heart murmur. So we had to start watching him and monitoring that to make sure it didn't get worse. So the vet suggested having, was it the electrocardiogram first or the x-ray first?
No, the electrocardiogram.
Alright, so he had an electrocardiogram done. Really? Thank you. Good girl. So he had a couple of them done, didn't he? First year?
Yeah, we watched it for the first time.
Just to make sure, it wasn't getting any worse, nothing had changed. You're a brat. Then in January of 2016, the vet wanted us to have an x-ray of his heart done to see if there was something going on there. So he had the x-ray done, and the results of that were the left side of his heart was enlarged. So at that point, the vet wanted us to have an echocardiogram done, which is an ultrasound, so she could see exactly what was going on. So we had the ultrasound done in February, and he was diagnosed with, I gotta make sure I pronounce this right, it's hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I believe that's how you say it. Also called HCM. Apparently it's the most common acquired heart disease in cats. So HCM is heart muscle disease, where the muscular walls of the ventricles become abnormally thickened, also known as thickening of the heart muscle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So while many purebred cats are predisposed of the disease, the domestic shorthair is the type most commonly diagnosed with heart muscle disease. According to the vet, his was inherited, so it's in his bloodline. So because he was diagnosed with the heart muscle disease and has the heart murmur, we needed to have his blood pressure checked, which turned out to be that he has high blood pressure also. So Sebastian is on 2 different medications. that he takes once a day. He's on one medication that's for the high blood pressure, and he's on another medication for his heart. He will be on these medications for the rest of his life. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Getting fidgety, buddy?
What are you doing?
All right, so Sebastian gets an electrocardiogram done every year to make sure that nothing has changed. He gets 2 urine tests during the year. He also has other tests done so that we can keep a close eye on his condition. He gets his blood pressure checked. Blood work done twice a year or once a year?
Once a year. Organ
He,
scans.
right, organ scans. So, and also after the blockage, he was put on a prescription food, moist food. So what we do, because cats typically don't take in enough water, is what we were told. Even though you may have a water bowl out, we used to feed the cats a mixture of moist and dry, but apparently, dry food doesn't have enough moisture in it. So what we actually do now, and we don't do it just for Sebastian, we do it with all 4 of the cats. We take their moist food and we actually mix it with water. We put a little bit of water in their bowl and mix it with the water. And Sebastian especially likes lapping it up. It gets that extra water. So it gives him that extra moisture. So since that happened, and like I said, he gets checked and whatnot, we haven't had any issues with crystals. It's been 2 years since he was diagnosed with the heart muscle disease. He's had no changes with his heart murmur. It's a 3 out of 6, and it stayed a 3. It hasn't changed, hasn't gotten worse. There's no changes in his heart muscle disease, and he's been doing good since he was diagnosed. Alright, so just a couple of things we want to mention to everyone. Urinary tract, or not urinary tract, but urinary blockages can happen in both male and females, but it's more common in male cats. So keep an eye, watch. Even to this day, we'll once in a while we check on Sebastian when he's using the litter box to make sure that his flow, no other way of putting it, is still okay. So keep an eye on your cat. If you notice any changes in their bathroom habits, if you want to call it that. If they start acting like they have to go but nothing's coming out, that's a sign of a blockage. If you think they may have a blockage, do not wait to get them checked, because it doesn't take much. As soon as we thought there was something wrong, we took him in, and even then, we got lucky that we took him in when we did, because, like I mentioned earlier, even that short period of time, he started going into kidney failure. So
Toxins can build up within the first 24 hours.
right. So you want to get them in as quickly as possible. Another thing, which may not be a bad idea, is I would say at least once a year. We do it twice a year with him because he had the condition, but once a year have a urinary test done, because they'll test for crystals in their urine. and they'll let you know if they have crystals or a high level of crystals, then that's another red flag where you may have to change their diet. So keep an eye on what food you give them, especially if you give them dry, but even some moist foods, if it has too high of an ash level, that's not good. If there's not enough moisture in the food, then the moisture, not enough moisture can cause a buildup of crystals in their urine. So, and if you do suspect that they have a urinary blockage, treat it as an emergency. It can be life-threatening. So that's Sebastian's story.
And Sebastian drools.
And Sebastian drools, yes. But as you can see, he's like a baby. He's just chilling out.
And he sheds.
So, yep, and he sheds a lot. So, that's, I think I said that right. That's Sebastian's story. Alright. Okay. Alright, so, if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Click on the bell to get notifications of our other videos. Remember, adopt, don't shop. Support your local rescues. Spay and neuter your pets. And always think positive. Right, buddy? Alright, till next time.